I forget so quick. We'll call this meeting to order. Welcome to this meeting of the Accessibility Advisory Committee for the City of Quinte West. As our name implies, we are an advisory committee, and our duty is to report and advise on all matters that fall within our mandate and recommend such actions to council as may be deemed necessary. We are not able to bind or compel council to any recommendation we may discuss or make. Having said that, the first is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Do we have any disclosures to be declared? Seeing none, we will carry on to our third order is approval of the agenda of the meeting for tonight or today. We need a motion moved by Committee Member DeLine, seconded by Committee Member Kloss. All those in favor of the approval of the agenda, motion is carried. Next will be the approval of the minutes of the meeting of July 4th, which I think each member has a copy of. And we need a motion for approval of those minutes. Moved by Committee Member Kloss, seconded by Committee Member DeLine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. So we have that approval. Next, we will go to delegations and presentations, and I have here that we have Rebecca Cotter, the Manager of Communications and Community Engagement, and Jennifer Rushlow, Tourism Development Officer, to speak on the 2024 Under-15 Toyota National Championship Accessibility Plan proposal. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Agenda. We are excited to be here to let you know about this exciting event that's coming up in very short order. So the 2024 Toyota National Championship U15 soccer championship is going to be coming to Quinte West October 9th to the 14th. We're going to be seeing 22 teams from across Canada, 10 teams of girls and 12 teams of boys. And of course, their parents at this age, their parents will be coming too. So we're expecting quite a crowd to converge onto the City of Quinte West and actually the Bay of Quinte region for the entire 6-7 days of the tournament. So we are wanting to ensure that every participant and spectator and visitor has an enjoyable and inclusive experience, and that's why we're here today, to just bring you aware or make you aware of all the activities that are going on and get your feedback. So as I had mentioned, all the participants and parents and everybody that's going to be included will be a large amount, but also we would expect that there would be about 2,000 spectators over the course of the 6-day tournament that will be coming and joining us as well. The venue is Centennial Park. We do have 5 fields that they will be playing on regularly. And there's a full roster of events that will be going on as well during that time. This is a partnership between the City of Quinte West, and the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board and Volunteer and Information, Hastings, Prince Edward. We've all been meeting very regularly for the last 2 years or so to bring this event to fruition. We've been actively recruiting volunteers and sponsors. We also have a venue during this time to engage the community, which is called Soccer Central, and that's going to be in the pop-up area of Centennial Park, and would feature like soccer-themed games. We're going to have vendors, and both retail and food vendors that are going to be in that area, and local organizations to highlight soccer, basically just to provide some more activity for them as they're, between games or as wanting to explore the area and that kind of thing. For our accessibility plan, we wanted to outline the measures and accommodations that we put in place to ensure the accessibility, reflecting our dedication to creating a welcoming and inclusive environment. We will, of course, be having accessible parking. There's lots of accessible parking within the park. At various points within the park, there's also accessible parking. We obviously are engaging with you now to see if we can bring any feedback to our committee from you. Accessibility information area. There will be information areas throughout the park where people will be able to gain information about who's playing and when and what options they have available. We do have the provision for accessible shuttles from the hotels that people will be staying at, so that they would be able to gain access to come and watch. And of course, there's covered areas if people need shelter at the pavilion within the park. We are going to have food service areas, and those areas are within the pop-up area, which already is accessible in terms of the pathways and the ability for people to get around that way. We talk about language captioning, and that would be in the form of if people were watching from home, potentially, as well as the online information is accessible too through our city's website. We have provisions for seating, and of course service animals are always welcome anywhere within the parks. Signage will be visible and accessible as well. Staff and volunteer training program has been submitted to the volunteer information Hastings Prince Edward for their use to train their volunteers, including the AODA compliance training. And of course, washrooms, there will be several portable washrooms that are accessible throughout the site. But having said that too, obviously all of our arenas and comfort station will be available and they are accessible. I'd just like to pass it over to Rebecca, who will talk to you about further the plan.
Thanks, Jen. Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Cotter. I'm the manager of corporate communications. So it's been my pleasure to work with Jen and the local organizing committee for several years now in preparation for the tournament this coming October. So I'll just ask Curtis. Curtis, are you able to pull up the report, accessibility plan document that accompanies the agenda for the meeting? So just while Curtis finds the PDF document that went out with the package for today's meeting, I will refer to that as soon as we have it on the screen. It's my understanding that you received that in advance, and I'm hoping that you've had the opportunity to review the details there. Jen covered some of those details at a high level just with what's bulleted on the slide here. We really do want to put our best foot forward, both physically and rhetorically with this tournament. So we hope that there's points of feedback that you would be able to share with us on any of these elements that we can take back to the local organizing committee. We are meeting now weekly with Canada Soccer, who is the parent organization for the series of tournaments under the Toyota National Championships brand, as well as our local organizing committee, and we have approximately 5 weeks left. So still plenty of time to make some accommodations, integrate some new opportunities, and make sure that we're following all of the best practices. On that note, perhaps Louise has already advised, Jen and I did meet with Louise in preparation for today, so we have been able to incorporate some of her feedback into the plan, the proposed plan that was shared with you already, as well as some potential questions that we anticipated coming forward from this group. So we welcome discussion on any of your thoughts or comments at this time.
Hi, Centennial Park is a beautiful place to be, and I'm there every day. And I've had to use some of the porta potties, and I would say they're not accessible. They're on hilly grass inclines, and for myself, when you're walking on wet grass and you're climbing up a hill, even though some of the porta potties have an accessible sign on them, that's great, but they're not accessible if you think about when you're climbing up a hill to go to the grass. They should be located near the sidewalks so that anybody, can access them. And there's a few of them if you take a walk around. There's one as you come in off of Bay Street, close to a soccer pitch. It's up against a fence, and you go onto the floor like this. So you're actually feeling like you're going to fall out the door. And then there's two by the biggest soccer pitch where there's benches that have been put and some bleachers way by the water treatment plant, you'll see that they're up against a fence and the incline's quite, to get up there. So I've seen people struggle with strollers going up it, but if you had any kind of disability with a walker or whatever else, you wouldn't be able to access that really well. So I think it's probably prudent to go and take a look at them yourself to see what I see every day.
Yeah, thank you very much for the feedback. We did discuss the need to make sure that we're placing a lot of the event elements either on or as close to solid ground as possible when we met with Louise. So she has identified some opportunities for locations for washrooms and some of our other elements that we'll definitely be taking into consideration when we plan the site map.
We'll also provide that information back to our Parks Department too, because I know a lot of the ones that are pre-existing the park are there for like the summer. So that's important feedback for them to get as well.
Committee Member Robbins put it much better than I could have about the washrooms. I just might add on to it would be the vendors as well. I know we talked at another meeting where possibly, whether it's mats or whatever, so that some people couldn't get at the vendors at another event that went on.
Sure.
And it just might be something to consider as well.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. We can definitely continue to share that with our events team as well as our tourism team that animates other areas of the park that are typically grass or uneven ground. For the purpose of the tournament, our activities and our vendors will be located within the pop-ups area. So there is that concrete path that travels through the pop-ups area. Our vendors specifically will be using the pop-ups sheds. So there'll be free and unimpeded access into and out of that area. The food vendors that we're bringing in will be using the concrete pad food vendor areas. The picnic tables that are already there on the solid ground will remain there, and we look to augment some of that because we will be expecting large crowds. So making sure that we're doing our best to accommodate everyone within that accessible space.
In my past life in working with seniors, it was always recommended that when you're using signage, making flyers, black on white is not necessarily the best contrast, but black on yellow, that bright yellow is more readily seen by people who have visual weaknesses.
Sure.
So if there's an opportunity to maybe add a couple here and there, obviously not changing all your signage, but
This is,
something like
thank
that.
you, that's helpful information. It's also very timely. We're doing a signage site visit in the park next week. So we'll definitely be identifying the locations for all of our signage and the mechanisms through which we'll be installing it and what they all need to look like. So I can provide that information to our communications team. Yeah, thanks. Good.
Any other comments from the committee? I don't see Sally right now, so. If not, we don't need a motion? I would like to thank both of you for attending and giving us information. Sally, do you have anything to add?
Not at all. I'm glad they're gonna stay on top of that because it is important.
So I will thank both of you for coming, and thank you for the information, and thank you for listening to the committee members.
Good. Thank you for the opportunity. This is very important to us. We look forward to seeing you in the park October 9th to 14th for some of the soccer games. The finals are on Monday, so if you're full of turkey and looking for something to do, come on down.
Thank you for all your hard work. I can't imagine how much effort this has taken.
Oh, so we will go to items for the committee's consideration, and it's a staff report on 3 properties, I'll just say, and I'll pass it over to Louise.
Thank you, Chair. So the city had received 3 site plan control applications for 3 projects which required comment be returned prior to this meeting of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. I reviewed the site plans and provided comments, and noted as follows. The project for 41 to 57 Stella Crescent, Trenton Ward. The project is for a new 13-story residential apartment building, which is to be comprised of 248 units of various sizes. All the units are to be rental units, and the developer is working with CMHC funding programs to ensure that 20% of the units will be maintained at or below market rental rates in the long term. At this time, we do not have approved floor plans or permits for the project, but based on the information provided, the development is required to have 3 Type A and 4 Type B accessible parking spaces. The development has allocated 8 accessible spaces in total, so they are exceeding the requirement by 1, and they are going to equally divide between Type A and Type B. For 896 Bell Boulevard West, which is the current Deer Haven Farm and Garden operation, they are proposing a new commercial facility on the western portion of their lands, as well as a renovation to the existing commercial facility on the eastern portion of their lands, and a new proposed storage facility. The existing commercial space has 3 accessible spaces, and the location will not be impacted by by the construction of the storage facility. The new commercial space requires a total of 2 accessible spaces, which have been provided for on the site plans as submitted, and appear to meet the requirements. The site plan for 944 County Road 40 in the Murray Ward, this property is the current Ultramar at the corner of Telephone Road and County Road 40. So it's developed with a gas station, a car wash, and a restaurant. The owner is proposing 2 additions on the north and south sides of the building, and indicated that the northern addition would be a drive-through Tim Hortons. The southern addition will be an expansion of the current gas station setup, and it's to be used for additional storage. Based on the parking requirements of the lot, 2 accessible parking spaces, 1 Type A and 1 Type B, are required. As with all of the site plans that I reviewed this session, I included a reminder that all accessible parking spaces need to be as close as possible to the accessible points of entry, and that they should not create a travel route that would require people to pass behind vehicles in the parking lot. Planning and Development is still continuing their review of all 3 applications at this time, so I don't have a final decision for you on what the city recommended. If you have any comments on any of the 3, you're more than welcome to make them now.
Well, we are open for comments, so do any of the members have anything to comment on these? Seeing none, then we will need a recommendation to accept this report. Need a mover, moved by Committee Member DeLine, seconded by Committee Member Robbins. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We now move on to new business or other. And the first one we have is from the Vice Chair, from Betty Clausen, on construction project obstacles. I have an obstacle saying that.
There's been a lot of recent improvements in the streets of Quinte West, streets and roads, and all needed and all welcome. I'm just bringing this up because I think in future planning, we should keep in mind people who daily lives have been impacted by a lot of this construction, in that they haven't been able to get where they wanted to go when they wanted to go. we all live with a certain amount of inconvenience, but for folks who use walkers or wheelchairs, canes, or even the big scooters, there were some obstacles in their way, signage by construction companies and things. There's no single incident. There's nothing to report. I'm just suggesting that in the future, we keep these situations in mind when planning for transportation and walking and rolling and however people have to get to where they're going. We don't want the construction to inhibit them from getting to where they need to be. And maybe we can discuss this in the future.
Any comments, first of all? Other than, I guess myself, I would hope that Louise would pass this information on to the necessary people. And I don't think we need a motion on that, so we'll move on to Louise with the International Day of Persons with Disabilities.
Thank you, Chair Smith. So we are moving forward with the awards concept and presentation. What I need to discuss with the committee at this point is, does anyone have any ideas for a keynote speaker? At this point in time, the awards presentations will be, are scheduled to be held here in the council chambers and open to the public and live streamed. If we are able to secure a keynote speaker, we would be able to incorporate that person as part of the recognition event here. So I'm looking for your suggestions.
I don't have the date in my memory. Do we have a date?
Tuesday, December 3rd.
Thank you.
If we don't have anything right at this time, I would ask that the committee consider it and then please contact me.
Does anybody have a recommendation for the keynote speaker at this time? If not, like, you give us a chance to think about it, and hopefully by our next meeting, I would say that we should, if there's any recommendations, we should have them at that time. If not, Louise? Okay, so before we move to adjourn, like, do you have any other, anything else to bring up? Committee Member Robbins, or
No, Chair, I don't have anything to comment.
Committee Member Klost,
No.
Committee Member Delane?
Just to add that the subcommittee met about the awards, and we've landed on an award using Hoselton Studios as the creator of the award. And so now that sits with the city for purchase order. Yeah, so we're just waiting for that. But it has been drawn up and presented, so.
Thank you, and Councillor Freeman, anything to add?
Actually, I have a question. Maybe Louise can find this out for me. I'm still sort of new to this committee, but I think I mentioned in the beginning that I have troubles with elevators because they aren't placed somewhere where I can reach them. And, you know, now it's getting even more and more difficult. Is in a new building like the one on Stella Crescent, is there anything new and more compatible in a brand new building as opposed to City Hall and so many other elevators in the area?
There is technology out there that would allow for voice command, et cetera. I don't know what they're going to use at the Stella Crescent one, although I understand that the developers are working with the Rick Hansen Foundation to make the building and the public spaces as accessible as possible.
Okay. But right now, there's no, need, they don't have to do anything with the elevators. Is that pretty much right?
My understanding is they just need to meet whatever the minimum requirements of the building code are.
Okay, so is that something as a committee that we can send that recommendation to someone? Because it's something that's forgotten. And to me especially, it's really important. I could not enter an elevator by myself.
We can definitely make that recommendation or make a motion to bring that to the developer's attention and see if we can get their buy-in on it.
Okay, I will make that motion if I can, and also that it be sent to the people that govern this sort of thing for something they should be doing in the future as soon as possible.
So we have a motion from Councillor Freeman to pass this information that we're concerned about the elevator and its functioning on to council and whoever is in charge, I guess. We need a seconder, seconded by Committee Member Kloss. So all those in favor?
Okay.
And the motion is passed.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, Councillor Freeman?
That's all from me. Thank you very much.
So hearing that, I don't believe I have anything to add tonight, which would be a surprise, but we will call for a motion for adjournment. Moved by Committee Member Delany, seconded by Committee Member Robbins, that we adjourn at 4:27, I guess. All those in favor? I don't see any opposition, so motion is carried and we are adjourned.